Speaking of Courage podcast, back from an epic Gary Wetzel episode. What is up, man?
What's going on, Donnie?
Not a whole lot. You having stomach issues, bro?
No.
Where are we headed today?
I was sticking with Vietnam.
Vietnam.
Yeah, I got a lot of good Vietnam gear, so I figure we got.
What's the ratio to people that say Vietnam and Vietnam?
Well, the ratio to me is sometimes I say Vietnam and sometimes I say Vietnam.
Oh,
so
really?
It's
Vietnam
kind of
sounds so much tougher.
Yeah, Vietnam. It's actually, I think it's 2 words technically.
Oh,
so
is it?
If you speak to people who actually speak Vietnamese, they shoot in this real short clip style of, so it's so we're all pronouncing it wrong regardless. But
Yeah, I speak Vietnamese.
now I'm going to be conscious of it,
Yeah.
and I'm going to be saying it different every time.
Who's our hero today?
We're doing Michael Fitzmaurice, which
Fitzmaurice.
is Fitzmaurice. He's a South Dakotan or North Dakotan, South Dakotan, Midwestern guy, another good humble American heartland type dude.
So no Snuffy?
No Snuffy. I'm gonna try to find another Snuffy just for entertainment value, but as of now,
I had somebody come in this week and that's their favorite episode.
As of now. So like I said, we're kind of sticking with my favorites at least as we're starting, and most of my favorites are those humble, hardy stock, salt of the earth American Army type.
Yeah.
I got to do some Marines. I got to mix it up and some Navy guys. We'll do that next time maybe.
So Michael Fitzmaurice.
Yeah, Fitzmaurice.
He's born in North Dakota.
He's born in North Dakota, but spends his life in South Dakota. I think Jamestown, North Dakota is where he's born, but he grew up, spent his whole life in South Dakota.
Really?
Yeah.
What year is this?
So he's born in 1950. This is kind of the prime Vietnam generation. This is where, when people use boomers as an insult, which is obnoxious. These are the baby boomers. The guys that fought World War II came home. They had a plethora of children. They just tried to settle down and have a good life. These are the kids that grew up and ended up fighting in Vietnam.
Welcome back stateside.
Right. Those guys that were born between, 1944 or even 41 if you want to count it, all the way through till like the early 1950s. Those are that wave of successful vets that are coming back, getting their homes, starting their families, and then there's just a boom of children.
So that's where the baby boomer thing comes from.
Yeah, that's what a baby boomer is.
Yeah, so veterans coming home, starting families.
Right, that is the baby boom. These guys were, happy to be alive, wanted to start their lives, kind of forget about the war. Getting these affordable homes in the suburbs. Some of them living in like quinset huts and things like that everywhere, but they having all these children. And then that generation, they grew up kind of idolizing their parents, are the ones that ended up going to Vietnam and being the soldiers of Vietnam.
Yeah, does that make a good soldier then, right?
It does and it does. I mean, it
depends on who it is.
Yeah, it depends on who it is. It's all about the circumstances and everything else. There's good and bad soldiers in every war, I would say.
Yeah. Okay, so what's his story?
So he's born, again, like I said, in North Dakota. Pretty average lifestyle at that time. Again, think like it's a little earlier than Wonder Years, but kind of that whole Norman Rockwell-esque. Good family. He's the oldest of 3 brothers.
Oldest.
Yeah, he's another oldest, but this one's just 3 brothers. Living that lifestyle, always running around, playing sports. He liked to play sports, but he wasn't much good at them. Nothing crazy successful or anything like that. Just a good American kid. Go out and play. You come back when the lights turn off and everything. You're playing wrestling with your buddies and fighting and stuff. But like I said, growing up idolizing your parents in that older generation, for that era of people, like for us, you've talked about, you didn't even know that many veterans growing up and stuff. And for the Vietnam era veterans, when they grew up, your dad might have served in the Pacific, your uncle might have served in Europe, a guy down the street was a fighter pilot in the war. They're just surrounded. The whole population fought. And so they grew up looking up to that. So his dad was in the Army. His uncle was in the Army. He had a couple other family members in the Army. So it's just kind of
bred into him.
It's bred into you, and it kind of rolls out your life path. Like it seems like, that's what you do. It's almost a part of your life. I'm going to go to school. I'm going to go to the Army. Then I'm going to go to college. Then I'm going to get married. Then it's almost planned out before you. So it's kind of like that.
You think that was an easier time?
In some ways.
Yeah.
In some ways, it's more complicated. But like I said, we always look back with rose-colored glasses.
Right.
Someday, 40 years from now, people are going to look back to this and say it was great.
Yeah. But this is kind of the generation that people look back real fondly, right?
Yeah, this is great music, great time, great all those things. Yeah, great cars. But it just depends on how you play it, because you have that looming Vietnam War that hung over America for a decade, the whole decade of the 1960s and into the 70s, and
a lot of racial tension.
Yeah, all the complicated things. Because again, these guys. I don't want to say naive, but they have this view of the world like everything's going to be rosy and great. World War II's over, we won, we're a superpower now, and then all of a sudden there's this looming threat on the horizon, the Soviet Union and the atomic bombs and all that.
Yeah.
So there's always that cloud kind of hanging over your head.
Is it true that there was a lot of nuclear threats back then where I've heard stories from people where they were like outside. They had drills where they were holding on to trees and
yeah.
shit.
Well, the way we do we're in California. We do earthquake drills.
Yeah.
Some states, I don't know what you guys do, but
Yeah.
we do earthquake drills. They would do that with nuclear bomb drills. Yeah, they would sound the air raid sirens, and everybody would get under their desk and put their hands over their head, and that's the big joke. It's like, really, that's going to save you?
Yeah,
from a nuke?
yeah.
But yeah, you have the flip side of the this wonderful lifestyle. The flip side is you had people building bunkers in their backyard and storing food and expecting death to come at any time, and some people are looking at them like, oh, you're crazy and you're paranoid. And then the Cuban Missile Crisis, we talked about that a little bit. Yeah, that was legit. That was real. We were on the brink of nuclear war with the Soviet Union. They didn't have the missiles yet, but they had the silos, they were preparing to get the technology to launch them from Cuba, and we had a big blockade of naval ships, and the people that were away in college and stuff were driving home to see their families to say goodbye because they thought the world was going to end. Like everybody, it was a real tangible threat. It wasn't this abstract idea. It was legit. Like, it's like, oh yeah, we got to worry about North Korea. Okay, shit. Now North Korea actually has nukes and they're in our backyard. It'd be the equivalent of that. We're worried about the Soviet Union, but it's this abstract fear. But then all of a sudden, they're flying over Cuba and they're seeing these missile sites set up, and they're going, "Oh my God!" And then, like I said, we had our ships physically blockading Cuba to try to prevent this stuff from going in. There's back deals going on.
Did they ever have the missiles in Cuba?
They never actually had them there. They weren't capable of launching them, contrary to popular opinion about it. They didn't get to that point yet. We were able to prevent that.
So what year is this with Michael right now?
So he's born in 1950. He ends up joining the Army in 1969,
And then what year was JFK killed?
1963. I think it was November 22nd,
Okay, so that's still,
1963.
that kind of whole thing is...
Kennedy is the beginning of the Vietnam era. So Kennedy represents a lot of, in this country, like this, they call it Camelot.
Yeah.
His presidency, this idealized American lifestyle. You have a handsome war hero president and his beautiful wife and their little beautiful children, and they're these rich and he's articulate, and it's kind of like, this is the best we can be. And then when he's shot and he's killed, then it's kind of...
JFK was a war hero?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he was in the Navy. He was on a PT Boat 109. They were in the Pacific. He's kind of a hotshot, little captain of these little boats. They were in the Pacific, and a Japanese ship actually cut their ship in half, hit him in the bow, and everybody was injured and wounded, and he was a strong swimmer, so he actually towed one of the wounded sailors for however many miles, swimming him to shore, and they ended up on a little island, and then they were trapped on the island, and it was like, they didn't know if they could trust the natives or not, and they ended up riding on a coconut, like, help us, we're downed Americans, and the natives took it to, I think they were Australian coast watchers and were able to come save them.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, he kept the coconut on his desk of the presidency.
No
there
way.
In the White House, yeah.
Dang, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, see, that's the thing is, that was this time. And then at the beginning of the Vietnam War, there was all this promise. That's when the Kennedy asked not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. A lot of people took that seriously, and a lot of people had this patriotic drive, and a lot of people joined the Army or joined the Peace Corps, and hey, I need to go out and be a part of something. And everybody looked at it as this black and white, right or wrong. We need to go help these people. We need to go help Vietnam. And there's controversy on how much Kennedy wanted to be involved in Vietnam or not. Some people say, oh, he was assassinated just because he wanted to pull out. Other people are like, no, he was escalating. But regardless, that's the beginning of the conflict.
Yeah.
So the guys that are over there, that's what they are going into. They grew up with that.
And then the way that it ended up with being country against the Vietnam War, right? Mm-hmm. So did the distrust in government start with his assassination, where people started to look at it differently?
Well, complicated or long answer, no, because there's always been distrust in the government.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like it is now. It's just as people don't have Instagram to yell at each other and fucking, hate each other for no reason and stuff. But there was still, the right wing didn't like the left wing didn't like the right wing. During the Roosevelt presidency, there was a lot of controversy and stuff. So it's always
not really
been ongoing.
special to today then.
None of this is special.
It's just
today.
the
It's
info
human nature.
is easier
Yeah,
to
it's easier to run your mouth on social media.
Okay, so Michael's in there. It's 1969, you said?
Yeah, so Michael joins the Army. He said he never wanted to go to college anyways, and he kind of thought of the Army as something that you should do. He said it wasn't this great patriotic drive, but it was, I'm a citizen and Americans should join. I want to do my part and do what I can. So it's 1963, the Kennedy era. This is way later. This is 1969. This is the height of the war. This is the big thing about the Vietnam War and why it turned people against was it was on TV every single night. Every night when you'd sit down to watch your news, this was the first time in American history that they're showing American troops wounded. They're showing bodies. They're showing people in the street. They're showing, the Vietnamese tied up behind their back in these brutal conditions. And to a lot of the World War II guys, they're like, big fucking deal. That's war. That's what we were doing too. But to the the public that's never seen this, they're going, "Oh my God!" But that's how you fight a war. You know,
Yeah.
they're seeing burning villages, they're seeing bodies, they're seeing dead, they're seeing guys get drug out, they're seeing, you know, the horrors that only people have gone through as soldiers. Now they're seeing it in their living room over their dinners every night. So
in this peaceful, pleasant
right. So it
type of
turned
country.
the country real sour on it. And again, if you had video cameras and you were showing the war in the Pacific, Okinawa, Iwo
Same
Jima,
thing.
oh God, it would have been horrific. It would have been much, much, much worse. But they didn't have that. So Fitzmaurice is growing up with that, so he knows the horrors. He knows what he's getting into, but he still thinks it's his obligation. Even in 1969, even in this height of the Vietnam War, he thinks, I'm an American, I should join the Army. I should join the military, it's my responsibility. And then he picked the Army almost out of family tradition, like I said. So he and about 4 or 5 buddies, they go down, they enlist, and he's the only one that ends up in Vietnam. And he left for basic training on October 31st, 1969, which is Halloween night. So,
And that's when he left?
yeah, that's when he left for basic training.
Nice.
So him and his buddies, and like I said, he's the only one who went to Vietnam, which is, I told you about my friend Bobby Ballou, my dad's friend.
Yeah.
Well, funny story with him. He joined the Army with a family friend of mine, I should say. They were going through the whole process together. Hey, let's join the Army. Let's go fight. Let's go to Vietnam. Okay, buddy. They go down. They go to the recruitment center. They're going to their physicals. They're at what we call MEPS. They get separated, and then Bobby keeps looking around like, where's this other guy? Well, I'll call him Donnie. Where's Donnie? Where the hell's Donnie? Like, we're getting ready to go. He's got his orders and stuff. He's on the bus, and then he sees the other guy going, I didn't pass the physical. See ya. But it turns out he knew that he wasn't going to pass the physical. He was just bullshitting the whole way.
No
So Bobby's
way.
like, what the fuck? Hey, he's going off, and he ended
Damn.
up fighting as a 173rd Airborne medic in Vietnam, and the other guys, at home, like, good for you, buddy. So it's kind of funny with Fitzmaurice, or Fitz as they call him.
Same situation.
Similar. I don't know. I don't know that this
May
was
not be physical.
Yeah, it may not be physical, but they might have just by fluke not gone. But it's just kind of funny how fate works out sometimes. So even though his dad was in the Army, even though they have that family tradition, he didn't tell his parents, so his parents were pissed. He went down, signed up, and went home and was like, hey, Dad, I joined the Army. And his dad's like, the hell are you doing? Because
his dad didn't want him to?
His dad didn't want him to. Like a lot of fathers that were in, they know the reality.
Yeah.
You're playing war in the backyard, but that's not reality. He kind of knows what he's got himself into.
That's crazy. So his dad is not for it.
Yeah, so his dad's not for it. So he ends up going to basic training at Fort Lewis, Washington. And to give you kind of an idea of what kind of person he is, this is the first time he's ever left his home state, other than he was born in North Dakota. But this is the first time he's left South Dakota, was to go to basic training. So think of that culture shock that you always get when anybody joins the Army. He's there with, guys from Alabama, guys from New York, guys from California, guys from all over the country, and they're all kind of in the same boat together. Like we've talked about, you're not Michael Fitzmaurice anymore, or Donnie Leverett. You're just a piece of shit now. You're trash. Yeah. Like my dad always said, they used to tell him you're lower than whale shit because that's the lowest thing on the world because it sinks to the bottom. You're scum. You're nothing. You're trash, and we're going to treat you like trash. And they do, and they treat you like trash. They break you down to build you back up. Yeah. So when he's in basic training, he's paying attention. He said the drill sergeant told him, you need to pay attention because your life depends on it. And he took that real seriously. Like, this isn't just, not to disrespect, but like the Army during the 1980s or peacetime, where it's like, you're probably not going to. He knew, I need to pay attention to how to use my rifle because I may die if I don't. I need to pay attention how to call in.
And the guys training him know what they're headed to.
Yeah, a lot of these drill sergeants would have already done tours in Vietnam and come home, so they're teaching them. They had what was called like Tigerland in Louisiana. My dad went to some of these trainings where they have these mock Vietnamese villages set up, and they have stuff they've learned in Vietnam. I have some of the books, How to Survive in Vietnam. These guys that are going over and coming back are telling them, like, it's not all fun and games, man. Like, it's terrible over there. So he's listening, and he's paying real serious attention because he knows that there's a good chance that he's going to end up there, and obviously he does.
Yeah. So he's trying to get all this information.
Yeah, in that 8 weeks time or whatever.
He's one of the people that is really taking it serious.
Yeah, so he doesn't have a chip on his shoulder or anything. He's just trying to kind of pay attention and hope he can survive. He ends up going to Fort Knox for Armored Recon School, which is actually, my dad went there too. And then he ends up in the NCO school.
Is that where Wetzel went to?
Yeah. Yeah. So Fort Knox, that's where Kyle went to basic. It's the home of the cavalry.
Okay.
So like Fort Benning's the home of the infantry. Fort Knox is the home of the cavalry and the tanker school. So he goes there for Armored Recon School, which is like a Cav Scout type. And then they send him to an NCO school, which it said NCO school in the record I found. I believe that's like these short shake and bake, as they called them. They would make these guys sergeants before they would go to Vietnam because they had a shortage of sergeants over there. So he said he didn't want to be an NCO, so he kind of screwed off. So they put him on 5 weeks of KP. Remember we talked about cleaning pots and pans. So he does 5 weeks of KP, and then they send him straight to Vietnam. So In 1970, he lands in Vietnam. Just like all these other guys, just like the 2 million, I think, men and women that served in Vietnam, very, very similar experiences. He actually landed at night. So when that plane comes down and you go from being a kid who's never left South Dakota, other than your recent basic training experiences, they land in the middle of the night. And when that ramp drops, he said it felt like it was 100 degrees outside in the night. The humidity just hits you. You feel that smell, and you realize you're not in South Dakota anymore. Stuff's real. And they're on basically generally a year-long tour. So you get
it's
that.
Just hot as hell.
It's hot as hell. It's muggy, and it's just this. It's foreign though. Like as simple as that word sounds, it's foreign. It's foreign to your senses. It's foreign to your eyes, your ears, all these sounds. It just seems more dangerous.
Same as Duran. You said the humidity, right?
Yeah.
High percentage of humidity.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Big time. Vietnam. The Duran episode is when I actually looked up the index of it and stuff. But like I said, a lot of these guys are gonna land at Saigon and things like that. It's insanely humid. You can taste the air. It's just super, super thick, and it takes the strength out of you.
Hard to sleep.
And you're tired from this long flight that's been 20-something hours, and then you're just in this culture shock, so it's scary. And
so you get there at midnight. Where do you go from there? Like just the minute by minute?
Right.
Do they say, here's a bunk, go to sleep? Or
No. So with me, and one of the good things about Iraq and Afghanistan is you deploy as a unit. So when you land, you're with all your buddies already, and all the guys.
So you guys are all going through it together.
Yeah. When you land in Vietnam, like they're tagging numbers to your shirt and stuff. Hey, you're number 30, so you guys all line up over here, or A through Z line over here. So you're getting hustled from where you land. They throw you on a bus. And he specifically mentioned, like a lot of the guys did, you get on the bus and you see that chicken wire on the bus because of the grenades, and then that drives it home a little bit more that this is not fun and games. I can get killed over here. People, they have to put chicken wire on the bus to drive you from the base to your next depot.
You're probably feeling real insignificant.
Right, and you don't even have a weapon at this point, and you're just like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? What decisions in my life led me to here?
I could be back home at a Halloween party right now.
With my 4 or 5 buddies or whatever it was. Yeah, so, exactly. So they'll drive you to another, like a depot. You're standing there with your bag. You're looking stupid. You're covered in sweat, depending on what they shipped over and if they're in khakis or whatever they're in. And then they're just calling out numbers and things. So you'd want to go to sleep, but they don't have time for that. It's going to be file over here, file over there. They're going to have a list of orders. There's going to be guys with clipboards, sergeants and stuff.
Are people yelling at you, or
exactly.
are they being cool?
No, they're yelling at you. They're treating you like shit. The NCOs and stuff that are there, they don't have time for your bullshit. They need to get you where they need to go because they need numbers. The guys that have already been over there, they're finishing up their tours. They're waiting to leave on what they call the Freedom Bird. They're laughing at you. They're looking at you.
And they're probably telling you horror stories.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know what you're getting into,
Exactly.
boy.
Better turn around. If you've seen Platoon, there's a great scene when he gets off and he has his starched fatigues on, and the guys that are coming across, they look 5 years older than him. They're covered in sweat. Their uniforms are dirty, and they're going, you fucked up, boy. And that's just them a year before, like 11 months before, 10 months before, but it's a lifetime in that 10 months.
They got put in that pressure cooker.
Right. So you're looking at these guys and you're going, oh my God. You know,
can almost feel how you would feel, dude.
That's how I felt in basic training when I got there, and I realized, with my shaved head and my 123 pounds, that I looked like I was about 14 years old, and I'm with these grown-ass men with tattoos all over and stuff, and I went, oh, crap, what did I do? You know, it's a scary, helpless feeling.
How long before you feel acclimated and feel like, okay, I'm in here?
With them?
Yeah, just in general, like...
Well, with us, it was different because, like I said, with us, you deploy as a unit, so you're already chilling in that mindset. With them,
don't you still feel like out of place? And,
yeah.
You know?
Well, not when we got to Iraq. When you get to basic training, I didn't feel solid until after I graduated. But but in Iraq, I thought I was the coolest guy in the fucking world, the toughest guy, so I didn't really care.
Yeah,
because we were with your unit. But with these guys, you're going to spend maybe weeks or days trying to get to your unit. You got to go to this base and you got to go to that base, and then they're going to fly.
So it could be
wherever.
days or weeks before you even find out who you're going to be fighting with.
Exactly, because the units. You don't have your unit assignment before you go over. Your unit assignment is based on the needs. If this unit got hit real hard because they've been having heavy attacks, next 50 guys are going over there. So you're going to a hot unit.
So how do you get the camaraderie that you need within your teams?
And that was one of the problems with Vietnam is you got everybody. You might have already been there 6 months, and I just got there for 2 weeks. So me and you might become best friends, and then you rotate out in 6 months, and I'm stuck, and then the next guy's and the next guy. So there was a problem with that.
Yeah.
Guys would click up, Black guys would hang out with black guys, Mexican guys would hang out with Mexican guys. Guys would fly their flags. I'm from California. California guys would come over. People would just kind of hit it off, But
it's just like sports. If you have a sport team that is a bunch... I coach girls softball, man, and if you get a new team where the girls don't know each other, they probably play 30% of their potential.
Right.
Fast forward a couple months when they're all close, they're playing way better.
That's that unit cohesiveness.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's better to deploy as a unit and come home as a unit and stuff. And that was one of the lessons they learned in Vietnam, because that was very, very difficult for that kind of stuff. But I mean, it kind of depends on your personality too. Fitzmaurice was looked at as a good soldier. He ended up in the 101st Airborne, which is a famed, vaunted unit. Band of Brothers and stuff. They were badass in Vietnam too. He ends up in the 2nd Squadron, 17th Cavalry Regiment. And he was described as a good soldier. Everybody that knew him said he had a dry sense of humor. He was real positive. He's always keeping everybody's spirits up, kind of joking around. So if you're a naturally affable guy, you're going to be a naturally affable guy anywhere. So people liked him. There was another soldier named Billy Fowler who served with him. When Billy got to the unit, Michael was one of the first people he met, and he said he just kind of treated him real great. They hit it off real well, but everybody liked him because he was a good soldier. He worked hard. He would treat you with respect, because if you've been there 6 months and someone's there on their day one, you can do one of two things. You can think you're trash and I'm going to treat you like that, or you can say, hey, come here, man. I'm going to help you out.
For sure, there was a lot of guys that were assholes.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? And
of course
imagine how less of a soldier you are in that situation.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, there was
But
guys,
you can't really blame them.
When I got to my unit, there was assholes too. But and this is, a lot of these guys were drafted, and a lot of these guys didn't want to be there, so they have all these other things going on. They feel like the world's fucking them, the Army's fucking them, and now who the hell are you? You know? So, you're gonna have that.
And that can really poison a unit, right? I would imagine.
Absolutely. It doesn't take much.
Lives, right?
Yeah, it doesn't take much. If you have one shitbird in the unit and you're a 10 or 20 man, patrol or ambush that's out there, and somebody goes to sleep, guess what? That guy might have just killed everybody. Yeah. So you got a shitbird like that.
Do they start
that's not
policing each
weight.
other? Will they beat that guy's ass and? Okay, cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's probably a good thing.
yeah, you're going to, because
because it's a life and death situation.
Exactly, it's a life or death situation, and if you got guys not pulling their weight, there's a problem. Yeah, like I said, when I got to my unit, when I got to First Cav, not when we got to Iraq, when I got to Fort Hood and stuff, and in some of the units they call you like an FNG. I've heard Marines like fucking new guy. We said cherries, which is like a more vulgar term. You're a cherry. You're brand new. Your cherry hasn't been popped. You're new. But they would call me cherry for like a week or two, and they kind of like beat you up jokingly. Like everybody threw you against the wall and jumped me and stuff. I remember a big dude bot check slamming me against the wall and stuff. Then we went to the field. And when we got to the field, meaning you're out training for a couple weeks, that all went away. It was just strictly on merit, because we did a road march, and I was a machine gunner, and there was this guy that had been in the unit for a long, long time. He'd been in the Army like almost 20 years, and we were doing a road march, and he was falling out. He couldn't keep up, so he's walking, and I passed him, and I was like, you're a piece of shit. And from then on, my level was higher than his. It didn't matter that he'd been in the Army over 10 years, and I've only been at the unit for 2 weeks. He can't road march and I can. So it didn't matter anymore, So like times measured. So in Vietnam, it'd be similar. You might be the FNG or the new guy or you're trash or whatever. But once you survive your first combat engagement and you do well, okay. It's
kind of like some of these stories that we've told, where you get there and you're made fun of, or you're the weak guy.
And it's something everybody's going to go through.
Then you go do some real badass shit, and it's gone forever.
Show you who you really are. Yeah. So Vietnam is just a crazy place to be, though. Whether you want to be there or not, whether you're a professional soldier or a draftee or whatever, it's crazy. You're fighting the weather, you're fighting the jungle, you're fighting the politics. Like we've talked about, the populace is made up of Vietnamese. The enemy is infiltrating with the populace. So you never know who is the good guys or who is the bad guys. And if you make a mistake...
There's probably people pretending to be both, right?
There are people being both, because we're supplying medical aid, we're supplying food, we're supplying rice and grain. So they're going to come get it, and then they're going to go fight you later, just like they do everywhere
else. Or they
else.
just play both sides of the fence.
Yeah, absolutely, because they have their own motives and things like that. So it's very hard to be in this, and not know where these rounds are coming from. His unit was assigned as a QRF, like a quick reaction force, and they're air mobile. So what they would do is wherever there was problem spots in the area, they would load up on the helicopters, they would fly out, and they would deal with it. So he said he got shot at quite a bit. He's dealing with this stuff, and they're in what's called a free fire zone, which means nobody's supposed to be there. So if you see the enemy, if you see anybody in this area, you shoot them, period. If the helicopters are up flying around and there's a guy pushing a wagon or something, okay, he's a bad guy, they'd shoot him. So there's a lot of combat and a lot of violence going on in this area. And again, we have this younger kid, he's 19 or 20, he's being indoctrinated into this world, which is just a world
Huge
of chaos and
culture
death.
shock. Man. So he's seeing stuff he has never even imagined.
Yeah, and you're dealing with the miseries. Like I said, the combat is not the worst part to me.
That's the part that fascinates me is you get in an airplane, you go to Vietnam. What happens from there? That would be the scary part. The enemy, of course, is scary.
The mundane things.
The mundane things. Where do I sleep? Where do I get my food? Where do I get this? And God, I have to work with this guy?
You're going to spend a lot of time sleeping on a floor, waiting for something, and then sleeping, here or there, or hiding out,
just
or trying to find
uncomfort.
Stuff. Yeah.
Damn.
So the other part of their mission, other than that, is like they're doing like aerial recon almost. They would, hey, go check out this bunker complex. They're flying over. They're going to see these things. They're setting up ambushes. They're going down trails, like all that other stuff. He had a specific memory that he wrote about. Christmas of 1970, they're going on an ambush, Christmas Eve. And an ambush is you basically wait till dark, and then they go out, and it's raining. They're covered in they're cold, they're wet, their gear's all wet. They're going out, and then one of the helicopters started flying around, like out of the speakers, playing Christmas carols out of the speakers. So it was like a surreal kind of moment to be out there covered. You're on a mission to kill people. It's dark, it's freezing, you're scared, you're tired, and then you're hearing this helicopter, play like Silent Night, and it's he remembered specifically the peace on earth and goodwill towards man, which stuck with him and stuff. It's just kind of
What would they do that for?
Just to raise morale, just to kind of tell the guys, you're all in it together. I spent Thanksgiving and Christmas in Iraq, and I remember the feelings, like I've talked about before, of just like, it's not... Physically, it's nothing. It's just you got to keep going on your missions. You got to go do your thing, but you're thinking about home and you're getting depressed and stuff. So they're trying to bring a piece of home to you.
Yeah,
I guess
that's interesting that they go that far to make people comfortable in these weird manipulative ways.
Well, the people that are doing it are the people that are in there with you too. The guys in the helicopter, they're stuck over there too. So
it's almost like a sadistic kind of sense of humor.
No, I don't think so. I think it's more of a camaraderie thing.
Yeah.
Like, hey guys, remember it's Christmas, and don't.
Yeah.
We all want to be home, but we're over here together type deal.
Okay.
So
it's not a brainwash type of thing.
No, not at all. This isn't some like sadistic general that's putting that out.
That's what I'm thinking.
No, this is another sergeant or something that does the loudspeaker stuff.
Yeah.
That was like, hey, let's put on Christmas carols, and let's be cool like that. So I don't think it was anything sadistic. It was the opposite. It was trying to bring that humanity, but it becomes ironic when you're holding your rifle, you're covered in mud and sweat and rain, and exactly, and then that peace on earth.
It's kind of cool, actually.
Peace on earth and goodwill. It's those are the things that stick with you.
Yeah,
I remember one Christmas story I remember, which isn't the greatest story, but in the chow hall they decorated it for Christmas, and they had these giant bottles of like apple cider.
Yeah,
and I thought they were delicious, so I was just drinking all of them. I was drinking like all of them. So we had to go out on missions. We had to go on patrols, but to like give us a break, we were doing what's called thunder runs. So we wouldn't actually get out of the Bradley. We would just haul ass around the city with the Bradley, so the enemy would be scared and not come outside.
Just a show of force a little bit.
Just a show of force. They made us get out, obviously, at one point. I had to pee so bad because I had drank like 4 of these big, giant bottles of apple cider. And I was like, like sweating like profusely in the back of the Bradley, like, I gotta pee. They finally let us out to pee, and I went behind a corner, and I was peeing while we were on patrol. The other guys are holding their positions and stuff. And it was kind of raining. There was a little bit of rain on the ground, and I'm peeing in the water. And then we took some incoming fire, and I dove on the ground.
In your pee?
In my pee, and that's how I spent Christmas of 2004. Then we got back in. I didn't really care. That was funny.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
But I do remember that. That's my Christmas story. So after he's been there a while, they end up in Caisson. Have you ever heard of Caisson? Yeah. So one of the biggest battles of the Vietnam War was the Siege of Caisson, where the Marines were held out for 77 days or something like that. In I believe it was 1968. So he's there, and in 1971. So after the Siege of Caisson, we actually abandoned the base. This is way up North Vietnam. This is the danger zone, right? So they get moved up there. They're reopening the base because we're making incursions into Laos. We're supporting the South Vietnamese effort to go in there. So we have to go guard this airstrip. So super, super enemy country. This is Indian country, as you'd call it, right?
Yeah.
We've talked about some of the other guys in South Vietnam where they're right on the border with North Vietnam. So these are all the regular troops and everything that are going over there. As soon as he gets there, though, they land and they see guys cooking steaks and drinking beers and stuff, and he goes, okay, this is going to be all right. Remember Forrest Gump?
Yeah.
It's just like that. So he goes, this isn't going to be that bad, but he quickly, of course, finds out that's not the case. After the steaks and the beers are done, they start getting rocketed every single night. So every night you go to sleep and the rockets start coming in because, again, they're in Indian country, and I don't mean that as a derogatory term. That's just a term that they used to use. So the rockets are coming in. There's no peace there. They're guarding the airstrip, anticipating attacks. They're getting periodic ground attacks. Guys are coming in. Do you know what a sapper is? So a sapper is like a term for a Vietnamese engineer, the combat engineers on the enemy side.
Yeah.
They're also slash special forces, almost they're like suicide bombers, basically. They would come through. So we would string up the wires, and we'd put out the claymores. You know what a claymore is?
Yeah.
The sappers would come through and they would sneak in. They were supposed to be just like amazing at getting through the wire. They would cut the wires and then they would leave and they'd come back. So then when the actual mission would start, they'd been there for weeks prepping these. And what they would do sometimes is they would turn the claymores around without us knowing. So when your base is under attack, a claymore, to click it, it's like a little handle, and you click, click, click to get the wire to get it to blow up. So you see the enemy and you're going to shoot this basically shotgun blast at them. The enemy's coming in, you go click, 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 and then it blows you up because they turned it around without you knowing it.
Shit.
So that's the kind of stuff sappers would do. They'd cut the wires, they'd come in, they would just charge into bunkers and blow themselves up. So they're a very fanatical, devious type enemy. So these sappers are making their little infiltrations. You're getting rocketed every night. You're living in this conditions where you never know what's going to happen, right? So March 23rd, 1971, he's on guard duty. We've talked about this in the McKinney episode. Yep. He gets off guard duty about 2 a.m. So guard duty is going to there's going to be all on the perimeter. There's going to be these little spots where you sit there with your machine gun and you kind of just stare, whether there's 1, 2, 3 of you or whatever that's going to be. So he finishes guard duty. It's about 2:30 in the morning. He goes back to his bunker and he's laying there wide awake, but he's getting ready for sleep, right? You're almost too tired to sleep. You start taking your boots off. You're laying there. You're trying to kind of catch a breath, put your rifle down, do what you're going to do. It's a cool, breezy morning. It actually kind of feels good. And then the rockets start coming in. Boom, boom, right? So I can't go to sleep. Is this going to be a small little thing where I can stay here, or is this going to be a huge attack? Well, of course, this happened to be a huge attack. So he gets up and he immediately runs to his defensive position. There's so many rockets coming in that it's actually lighting up the night. It's 2 a.m, but all these rockets are blowing up and these ammo dumps and these things are going off, so there's light in the sky. So as a young kid, you're terrified, right? But you know what to do. You want to go get to your position. So him and a couple other guys get to their defensive position, and they ended up being attacked by about between 100 and 200 enemy sappers.
Damn.
So these guys are just running through the base. They're shooting. They're blowing things up. There's explosions going off. Like I said, we have these big ammo dumps where you keep all the ammo. They're trying to blow those up. So the ammo dumps are on fire. There are explosions. There's people dying. There's people screaming. There's just basically chaos everywhere. Suicide bombers are running into bunkers and blowing things up. So him and his other guys, they're right next to the bunker. They're in their fighting position, and he starts firing. He's firing at the enemy as they're coming in, and then he sees someone running, and he assumes it's an American running. And then at the last second, he looks up, and he realizes it's the enemy. The enemy's right on top of him, and they're throwing in grenades and satchel charges. So it's him. He's in his fighting position. They're in their bunker. It'd be kind of like me and you in here.
Yeah.
He sees 2 grenades, and he grabs them, because he knows that his buddies are going to die, right? Some of these guys are still laying down, getting ready. He grabs the first grenade and he throws it out. He grabs the second one and he throws it. He sees the third and he knows that he can't get it, okay? He knows that if that grenade goes off, it's probably going to kill him and his buddies in that immediate area. It's going to prevent them from getting their rifles. It's going to prevent people from fighting. So he grabs his flak vest, which is right here. It's just a thin material. Like I said, it's supposed to protect you, but it won't protect a bullet. He grabs his flak vest, he throws it on the grenade, and he covers it with his body, just like all these other guys have done.
Jeez.
So his buddy, Billy Fowler, who I talked about before, Fowler said that Fitzmaurice was the first guy he met when he got to the unit. He treated him like a human being. He treated him with respect. He was just a good person. He watches Fitzmaurice cover that grenade with his body or that satchel charge. He watches him, and he knows in that second that he just saved his life, right? And then he watches the explosion, and then he loses sight of Fitzmaurice. He's actually physically just completely blown out of the trench. So Fowler's cut. Fowler's got shrapnel behind his neck, but because of Fitzmaurice's actions, it actually slammed the door shut and stuck these guys in there that were stuck in their bunker, but it saved everybody's life that was inside.
Yeah.
So they knew that Fitzmaurice was basically going to be killed by that charge, but he wasn't. So the blast actually blew him out. So he woke up and he shook it off. His eye was actually dislocated. If you've ever seen a picture of a dislocated eye. So his eye's bleeding. He's almost nearly blind. He's covered in shrapnel. His eardrums are completely blown, but he wakes up. So Fitzmaurice wakes up and he looks around and he's just seeing enemy running everywhere. The ammo dumps are blown up. I think they blew up 2 or 4 ammo dumps. The rockets are still coming in. There's explosions. There's people screaming. He's got nothing, and he figures, I'm going to die anyways, so I better go out fighting. So he grabs a rifle and he just starts firing. His eye's bleeding. He can't hear anything. He can't see anything. He's just seeing flashes of light. His buddy, who doesn't have a weapon, is actually calling out targets to him. So Fitzmaurice starts laying down fire. He gets out of his bunker and he actually charges towards the enemy, and he's just firing his rifle. one completely missing eye, basically. I mean, his eye's still there, but it's dislocated. So one non-functioning eye. He's bleeding. He doesn't know how bad he's bleeding. He just survived this explosion. He said, we just got overrun, and I never figured on getting off of the hill anyway, so I figured I would try to do something. So he starts firing. He gets hit again. A grenade hits him, and it blew up his rifle that's in his hands. So now he's covered with shrapnel. He's bleeding. He doesn't know how bad it is. He's convinced he's going to die, so he just figures, I'm going to fight. I'm not going to go out like that. I'm going to fight. So he starts crawling around on the ground looking for another rifle, just something to fight with, because he can't fight with... He doesn't have his gear on him. He doesn't have grenades. He doesn't have anything else. He has his hands and his body. He's bleeding. It's hard for him to see. It's hard for him to hear. There's the chaos in the night. Like I said, that one Vietnamese that ran up to him, he didn't even know if that was an American. So they're so intertangled with the Americans at this time that he's he's physically crawling on the ground looking for a weapon. When he goes to find a weapon, all of a sudden the Viet Cong attacked it. I'm sorry, these were the People's Army of the Republic of Vietnam. These are the North Vietnamese. Tackled him. An enemy soldier jumped on top of him trying to kill him. So he's completely unarmed. Even with his dislocated eye, his ruptured eardrums, shrapnel throughout his body, he was able to overcome this enemy and beat him to death. He physically overpowered him and killed this guy with his bare hands, and he was able to run the rest of the enemy off. He then picked up another rifle, and he continued to fight. He refused. Guys were able to come up to him and try to give him medical aid. He refused evacuation, and he continued to fight because, like I said, he wanted to go out fighting it if that's what it came to. So he continued to fight, and he was able to drive off the enemy. When all was said and done, we were able to get our medical troops in there and everybody out at about 5 a.m. So for about 3 hours, he fought like this with these extensive injuries before he was finally given medical aid and taken off of the hill at Caisson, basically. So as a result of his injuries, he ended up spending 13 to 14 months in a hospital. So just so you don't think, oh, maybe he wasn't that bad. 13 or 14 months in a hospital. He had substantial shrapnel throughout his whole body. His eye was dislocated and bleeding. His eardrums were completely ruptured. He had to wear hearing aids for the rest of his life, obviously. But he was able to kill multiple members of the enemy. He was able to save those guys that were in the bunker with that life and death decision to jump on the grenade, and they were able to hold on long enough that the enemy was not able to take that airstrip. At the end of the battle, there was 3 American dead. There was multiple aircraft destroyed. There was 2 ammo dumps blown up, and these are huge on all of this, but it could have been much worse. They could have taken the airfield. They could have overcome this, but there was people like Fitzmaurice that were able to kind of hold their ground there. And if you ever watch any of his interviews, he's just the most humble guy in the world. He literally just says, I was doing what I was trained, and he harkens back to that basic training. They trained me how to do this, and my training just took over. When the grenades came in or the satchel charges came in, he said, there was nothing else to do. I had a buddy beside me. I didn't figure on getting out of it anyways, so I thought maybe I could save him. So in his mind, he knew he was going to die, but at least I can try to save my friend. At least I can keep him out. And then he also said, I threw 2 of them out, and I covered the third with my flak jacket. It blew me out of the hole, and that's about it. I just stayed there and finished up the fighting. So that's how he described his action. It threw me out of the hole, that's all. And there was nothing spectacular in his mind. But in reality, rather than when the explosives came in, rather than running, rather than hiding, rather than taking cover, he chose to give his life, essentially, to potentially sacrifice his life. Fortunately, he had the forethought to grab the flak jacket and throw it on because he wasn't wearing it. He put it on the ground, and that was able to save him and save those guys. Had he laid there and been done, again, he would have done his job. Yeah. But he chose to stand up, he chose to grab a rifle, and he chose to fight.
Those little decisions.
Exactly. And a reasonable human being, when you're attacked in that sense, it'd be easy to submit, it'd be easy to give up and die, but he kept fighting. He had that will to survive, to overcome that physical force of that Vietnamese soldier on top of him and to physically be able to beat him to death. And these aren't, it's a little, Vietnamese guy. No, this is a hardened warrior that's coming at him, that infiltrated in the middle of the night, that had the courage enough to attack an American base and be willing to die. And Fitzmaurice, wounded and bloody, when that guy jumped on Fitzmaurice, he probably thought, I have a wounded animal here, but he didn't realize, what a wounded animal can do. So he was able to actually to beat him to death and drive off the other enemy and protect his friends that were in that bunker.
Imagine those scraps. It's easy to say, beat him to death. You watch any kind of fight.
Yeah.
A fight to the tap out.
Right, exactly.
Is wicked.
Exactly.
Imagine a fight to the death.
When
what
someone
it would
knows
take.
they're dying. Yeah, if you ever read David Bellavia's story, it was earned the Medal of Honor in Fallujah. I'll just hit him in the head or I'll hit him with this. Or I'll hit him with
it
that.
doesn't work like
Human beings that are determined to survive don't die just from punching them. They don't die from hitting them with, it takes a hell of a lot to kill
How
somebody.
How many professional fights have you seen that are really bad finishes?
Yeah.
They get right up and it's good.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. You see guys that are bleeding and gaping and they're still, I just don't want to fight. Yeah, now times that by guys that have gear on, guys that are not willing to submit, guys that are trying to kill you,
and
guys
you're
that
wounded.
are focused, and you're wounded.
You can't see, you can't hear.
Now imagine a boxer that only has one eye.
Yeah.
So he's only got one eye. He can't hear anything. He doesn't have the senses. His equilibrium's fucked up. He got physically thrown out of the hole. He's bleeding. He's covered in shrapnel. He definitely doesn't have any idea how bad he is. And
wouldn't take much of a shot to put him back out.
You wouldn't think so.
Right?
Yeah, but that will to survive and that will to engage. And it's funny because some guys know I'm at that trauma point and I need to do something. Fitzmaurice, at least according to him, as humble as he just was doing his job. Like I'm moving about. I'm supposed to protect my friend, so I'm going to throw myself on this grenade.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to kill the enemy, so I'm going to grab this rifle. I'm supposed to defend my position, so I'm going to beat this guy to death.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to continue fighting. So he fought for 3 hours like that. And again, it's also one of those things that the guys that were seeing this realize the magnanimity, the huge effort that this taking and what a big deal it is because they can't do it themselves, right?
3 hours.
For 3 hours fighting wounded like that. So they actually put him in for the Medal of Honor, but he got out of the Army as soon as which is another problem with the Vietnam War, after 14 months, over a year in the hospital recovering, they just kind of discharged him there in Colorado and said, all right, you're out of the Army, have a good day. So these guys have to kind of go back to this civilian life. So he goes back and starts working at a meat packing plant, just like his dad did, just because he's that blue-collar guy. In 1973, he'd been out for almost 2 years, and he got a call from the Army, and they said, you've earned the Medal of Honor. And he had no idea who put him in for it. He had no idea he was even put in for a medal.
Wow.
He just thought it was, I did my job. That was it. I did it, and I went home. But on October 15th, 1973, he was flown to the White House with his wife, his 2 brothers, and his parents, and President Nixon awarded him the Medal of Honor.
That's awesome, man.
He was able to get the award that he deserved.
It's crazy to think 3 hours. A championship fight is 25 minutes.
A wrestling match is 6 minutes, right?
Yeah. I mean, damn.
Yeah,
with those kind of wounds, dude, and like I said, concussed, blown out of a hole, knocked unconscious, I'm sure. The pain, oh man, I just couldn't imagine like what.
And see, in this instance,
what the body can do is amazing.
In this instance, he was offered medical aid and he was offered to pull back, and he refused because he thought he was going to die, and he figured he might as well keep fighting because he wanted to die fighting.
Yeah.
And he knew that he could save his buddies. Again, that goes back to that. If not now, when? If not me, then who? Right? He knows that I can fight as well as anybody. If I fall back, somebody's taking my spot, or nobody's taking my spot, and we might lose. I'm going to just keep going.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm going to keep going. It's just that
will.
fighting spirit of the American soldier and a lot of other soldiers.
Yeah.
But it's cool to see. And if you listen to him or hear him, he's just one of the most humble guys you would ever hear or see.
And on top of that, dude, imagine most guys aren't like that, right? So most guys are the guys that are hunkered down. That
Exactly.
Are like, God,
which is fine.
Which is normal,
Yeah.
right? If you're that guy, how grateful are you that there's a beast like that next to you?
Right. So he literally threw himself on a grenade or a satchel charge. It's unclear what it was. After being blown out of the hole, he charged. He grabbed a rifle and he went forward at the enemy.
Imagine
he didn't fall
being the
back
guy
to
in the
nurse his
bunker
wounds.
going, God, he just saved us.
Yeah.
And then 10 minutes later, you see him out in the field beating the guy to death.
Exactly. And these guys lost sight of him. They knew he was dead. That's what they said. He's gone. Fitz is gone. He saved our lives and he's gone. And then all of a sudden, there's rounds firing at the enemy. There's, this other guy that doesn't have a weapon. He's calling out to Fitz, over there, to your left. And Fitz is turning with his one good eye, and he's picking up his M14 or his M16, and he's putting rounds downrange. Over there, to the right. And Fitz is turning, and he's placing effective fire on the enemy. And the enemy sees this, and they throw the grenade at him. We got to take this guy out. This guy's causing us problems. Get him. They throw a grenade. They blow him back enough to destroy his rifle. Okay, we got him. Nope, no, we don't. Now he's crawling on the ground. Okay, he's wounded. I got him. Okay, no, you don't, because now he's turning, he's smashing, he's using his hands as weapon, his hands as clubs, right? Coming down with those strikes, trying to break bones or choking or whatever it was done. It's not clear, but like you said, what does it take to kill a human being, right? What does it take? Even choking someone out. You can choke someone unconscious pretty quick, but you got to hold on for a bit to kill him.
Yeah.
And this isn't, a jiu-jitsu rear naked choke. These are front handle chokes or beating people with helmets, and that's when war stops becoming a video game. That's when war becomes you're feeling the life ooze out of someone, and you're feeling the blood pumping in their throat as you're choking them, and you're watching their face red, and you're feeling their fingers clawing into your fingers as you're
desperation.
You're taking away all they got and all they're ever going to have, as the line in Unforgiven, and they're fighting back. They're clawing at your eyes. They're punching you. You're whatever skill you're using. If you're a wrestler and you took them down, they're not just going to lay there. If you're a boxer and you're hitting them, they're not just going to take it. You're beating with your hands, you're feeling it in your knuckles, you're feeling your bones crack, and you're knowing that there may be more, and you're going to have to continue doing this. But rather than saving some of that strength for, I got to get out of here, he's putting everything he's got on the line. I'm going to go through you. Yeah, I'm going to go through you, and he did.
Damn.
So, yeah, he got home, and like I said, 1973, he ended up doing 18 years in the National Guard. He stayed in the Army, essentially. He became a maintenance engineer at the VA, at the Veterans Hospital. And one of the books I have is funny. They actually named the VA after him, and they have a display for him there. And they said visitors will sometimes come and read a citation and look at his pictures and medals and say, "Wow, like, is this guy still alive?" And they go, "Yeah, he's the plumber. He's right down there. He's working in the building named after him."
Wow.
That's just how humble of a guy he was. And when they asked him about his Medal of Honor, he said it's his second greatest achievement in his life. His first greatest achievement was being married and having good kids, basically.
Yeah,
So that's
crazy.
And then he, what it all boiled down to him was he said he was just glad that his friends were able to survive and able to come home and have family. So it didn't mean a lick of difference to him whether or not he made it off that day. He was determined to die, and he knew it was going to happen, but he wanted to save his friends. He knew he said he didn't have any other choice. He just got lucky. That's how he said it. He didn't have any other choice. There was the grenade. There was nowhere for him to go. But on top of it, he thought, I'm dead if I do, I'm dead if I don't, but at least I can try to save my friends. So he overcame every part of that evolutionary human spirit of survival and trying to do anything he can to survive. And with heart and will, he overcame that. He survived that. And then with courage, he was able to force the enemy back and keep that position held for long enough for reinforcements to come alive.
Damn.
So
that's crazy.
Yep. That's Michael Fitzmaurice. And here's his citation, which I printed with bigger letters this time so I can try to read it. On 23 March 1971, Specialist 4th Class Fitzmaurice and 3 fellow soldiers were occupying a bunker when a company of North Vietnamese sappers infiltrated the area. At the onset of the attack, Specialist 4th Class Fitzmaurice observed 3 explosive charges which had been thrown into the bunker by the enemy. Realizing the imminent danger to his comrades, and with complete disregard for his personal safety, he hurled 2 charges out of the bunker. Think of the courage of that, too. Yeah. The explosives and running and grabbing them. Yeah, just that in and of itself. Go on the 4th of July, next time you throw a firecracker, go run up, pick it up. Don't actually do this.
Yeah.
But, okay. He then threw his flak vest and himself over the remaining charge. By this courageous act, he absorbed the blast and shielded his fellow soldiers. That's enough right there for a Medal of Honor. He threw himself on an explosive charge, willing to give his life, and he survived. Although suffering from serious multiple wounds and partial loss of sight, he charged out of the bunker and engaged the enemy until his rifle was damaged by the blast of an enemy grenade. While in search of another weapon, Specialist 4th Class Fitzmaurice encountered and overcame an enemy sapper in hand-to-hand combat. Having obtained another weapon, he returned to his original fighting position and inflicted additional casualties on the attacking enemy. Although seriously wounded, Specialist 4th Class Fitzmaurice refused to be medically evacuated, preferring to remain at his post. Fitzmaurice's extraordinary heroism in action, at the risk of his life, contributed significantly to the successful defense of the position and resulted in saving the lives of a number of his fellow soldiers. These acts of heroism go above and beyond the call of duty, are in keeping with the highest traditions of military service, and reflect great credit upon Specialist 4th Class Fitzmaurice and the United States Army.
Awesome stuff.
So,
man.
Another humble South Dakotan in this case.
And another older brother.
Yeah, another older brother, top of 3.
It's a common theme.
Yeah, it is. And like you said, I think some of that comes from growing up with that responsibility,
Putting people before yourself.
yeah, and even if your older brother might be like a selfish bastard, but if the three of you are in a room, there's a problem, they're going to be the one that's expected to take care of it. So.
Isn't that weird? It just is.
Yeah,
It just always is.
That's his life.
Great story,
Yeah.
Michael Fitzmaurice. Thanks for listening, guys. Questions, comments, concerns in the comments section. Got anything?
Nope. Thanks for
All
listening.
right,
Have a
we'll
good
be
one.
back. Oh yeah, check us out on Podbean. We're gonna be up.
Oh.
For
Finally.
audio only. We got the video portion on YouTube, obviously, that you're watching right now. But Podbean for audio, if you want to listen in your car, will be up in the next week.
Cool.